Hello there, and welcome to episode 5 of the GitGud podcast. It is Bruce here, and joining me, as always, Magnus. Magnus, how are you doing?
I am doing perfect today.
Perfect today?
Yes, wow. Because, I go to bed pretty late, but I slept and I was only woken up like 3-4 times or something like that. And I slept all the way until I got a message on my phone that something that I ordered for myself was ready for pickup.
Nice.
That's the best way to
You just wake up for like a dopamine hit, ready to go.
Yes, exactly. It's This
is going to be this is the thing that's most exciting to me. This is going to be the last podcast with bad microphone audio. This is my solemn promise. We have finally sorted you out with a decent microphone. We need to sort you out with a cable, but that's a preview for a conversation that's coming up in terms of production. But this should hopefully be the last one, and we've got you a silky smooth microphone. We'll be hearing your full dulcet tones as opposed to what the iPhone churns out. So that'll be nice. So dad check-in. This is our traditional check-in. Now a requirement of the podcast. So you're considering it good that you're only getting woken up 3 times a night. So progress.
Well, this night, but bear in mind that I went to sleep at a bit after 3 in the morning, which means you skip a lot of the getting woken up because you just didn't go to bed, right? She's 6 months in, actually this weekend.
Nice.
And she is crawling and she's standing and she's trying to walk when she's standing and she's, wherever you put her, she's trying to escape. So she's switching between escape mode and wanting to be picked up mode. And
the kid just wants to move. That's all she wants. It's just to move.
Yeah, and sometimes it's she actually wants to, pick me up because I don't want to do things by myself. And she found out that being loud and vocal about it usually helps. So she is, and she has. She's gotten into a period where the first, I'd say, 3 hours of sleep, she will wake up crying every 40 minutes, like full on. And you have 10 minutes of her basically not screaming, but she's like full crying. And then she goes into sleep again. And it's a bit frustrating because she's not crying at all. She's not like, when she gets tired, she gets a bit fussy, but she's not crying basically ever.
Is she a loud crier?
Yes, extremely. Mouth open as much as possible and lungs doing full volume. Not a soft sob of it.
I remember being at the 6 months phase, and we went to see a friend. I think I've told this story before, but I'm going into it anyway. And their baby started making a noise, and we were like, "Sorry, what are they doing?" And she was like, "Oh, they're crying." And we're like, "No, that's way too quiet for crying because
not a cry."
Our daughter was like, I'm gonna give these lungs a workout here. I need to really let you know that something is up."
Yeah, it's the same for us. Either she's happy, all smiles and giggling, or it's just and it's basically either or. She can get into a fussy mode where she's just everything is but that usually means that either you fix it by giving some food or changing a diaper or changing environment or whatever, or it's going to be a night of crying.
I remember getting my daughter in the car and just going for a drive, just to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And like, in retrospect, maybe I wouldn't do it now because you're tired and driving isn't a great combination.
No,
but,
yeah.
you know, just poodling like 2 miles an hour around the neighborhood, hoping that would like inspire some sleep.
Yeah. Snooze.
It's probably why it was roughly at the 6-month phase. I was like, if you want kids, be really sure that you want kids because it is not easy. Like it is tricky. It is worth it. I absolutely think it's worth it, but it is very hard.
Yeah, I think it's worth it, definitely. But I mean, I'd say the first month is getting used to having to look after something that can't do anything, which was new to me, of course. And then you get into some months of seeing rapid progression and being really excited. And, well, you're tired, of course, but everything is new and exciting and blah, blah, blah. And now you start to feel the wear and you've seen much of the things already. And, well, it is exciting. And, I mean, a baby's laugh can cure anything, but it's, you can start to feel it. You age rapidly.
I know the truth. Oh, so whereas I had the opposite experience. Well, not the opposite.
Oh,
That'd be a very weird thing. That'd be looking after an old person. No, we had our daughter's 8th birthday party this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
With a load of screaming 8-year-olds as well. And that was a loud experience.
Yes.
But, I mean, in many ways, it's still the same old story. Stop them from trying to hurt themselves. Make sure everyone's having a good time. Make sure everyone's fed. The benefit is not having to worry about changing anyone. That's pretty good. Like there's no more diapers or nappies or whatever, however you phrase it. But yeah, it was certainly an experience. But when your little people, and I know obviously you have experience with when they start forming the friendships and the social bonds, that's very interesting as an outsider because you're like, I have no control over this. You're on your own largely, and I'm here to offer advice, but you probably won't listen to it. And friendships are hard, and they're really tricky, certainly when you're young and everything is like, everything's the most powerful feeling in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I met my wife, Silas was 5, I think, which is, kind of a lure because you think, well, let's have a baby. Soon they'll be 5. And I would say that was, for me, pretty exciting because it's a person. It's a person.
5 is a good age.
Everything. 5 is where you can, I mean, yes, you can have highbrow conversations of anything, but you can have real meaningful conversation. And you can see how everything you say and do is picked up, and you can form some things and you can see some things form on their own, which is very, very exciting. And it feels such a long way.
That's because it is. I mean, in retrospect, it'll go in the blink of an eye, but in the moment,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, soon you'd be like, oh, what if people say that? Oh, do you wish you was a baby again? I'm like, absolutely not. No way. That was real tough. This is easy in comparison. Like,
yeah, we're looking forward to them being able to walk on their own and just do some things on their own, which is, well, a while away, but
it'll happen.
Yeah,
I keep
one day after the other, and soon we're there.
How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Same way for raising a kid. Okay, Dad Corner is closed. All of you without kids who are probably wondering what the hell we're talking about, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just little people. So I want to know about this. So, well, actually, should we start with the fact that your Scythe Box has arrived and you're very excited?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So the gift I gave myself was the Scythe Box, and it's sitting here beside me, and I cracked it open a bit for just you and me because of excitement. And I'll say I don't get boxes. I'm mindful that I paint way too slow, and it's so much plastic.
Yes,
but
it's a huge amount of plastic.
it's just something about this box. And even though I'm splitting it with a friend, so he gets the Skaven actually, because I had a few models that I know or knew I wanted to paint from the box, and well, I had to compromise, I guess, for my own sanity. So I am splitting it, and not keeping the Skaven part. But yeah, it's just opening a box like this and looking inside, and everything is just neat and crisp, and oof. And I just, yeah, as I said, I don't normally get boxes, but this one it felt a bit different. I think they really nailed a lot of the models, and yeah, well, I can go
this
to
one
eBay
felt
later on and get some minis, but you know what? I know
so
full
when you
well
say
that I won't.
this one felt different, I'm like, I know why it felt different, because one half of it is a lot of NMM figures. Like, it's got your name written all over it.
Yeah, it is. I really wanted to paint some of them up. Well, at least one, and I'll try for some others too. I'm very mindful that the style I'm painting, it's just I would never finish any side of that box. So it's well, but then again, as I said, I normally don't go to eBay, and it's because I'm not that smart. Uh, yeah, because if you just buy a single model from a box, the one you actually want, off of eBay, it's not that expensive actually. But
I got the
usually,
rat ogres for £17.
yes,
I
you
thought that was
did,
a very
and
good deal.
yes, you did a very very sensible thing. I normally just, oh, I really want to paint this, and then I go straight to my local game shop and I put some money on the counter and I get the thing. But that's expensive too. Especially
Yes.
because I want to paint one fly guy or whatever. But they come in a box of three. Well, what about the other two? I'll just sell one or two off of on eBay. Well, I never do. So
Oh, I don't lie to myself. No. I mean, great example is the Golden Demon Squad. I bought the
yeah,
the Assault Intercessors. That's a box
yeah,
of 16. I needed 2
yeah.
models.
Well, now you have another
Got a
lovely
lot of
set of models.
spares. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it'll be handy for painting Space Marines for YouTube, but at a certain point, I'm
yeah,
like, half that's a write-off. That's okay.
yeah, yeah, and it's the same for me. It's just, well, I look in the cabinet, and I'm not going crazy at all. But it's just not compared to others. I mean, I have some boxes, but it's not a huge amount. And well,
You're
at
allowed
some
to
point,
treat yourself. It's fine.
yes, and I did with this one, and I'm very excited about it. And yeah, I think the models were really really lovely, a lot of them, which was the draw for me.
I mean, what I'm interested in as we dive into law discussion, because that's now a contractual requirement, is we always include law. But
Yes.
from what I've gathered, and I grant you, I've not read the books, the source, is that the Stormcast are now a little bit messed up because they keep dying and being reborn, and now they're a little bit darker, a little bit more like that's why there's all this death symbolism. And so
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
when I look at your Bastion
yeah.
and your wonderful things, that's almost the gleaming gold, like platonic ideal of the perfect Stormcast. And now, are you going to paint these Stormcast slightly more battered and weathered and different, or are you still going to do beautiful gold NMM?
I think I will do steel.
Oh, that's a tricky
Yes,
one. I'm very excited
it
for
is.
that.
I think I will be doing steel on them. So yeah, I did a test on the Deathwing and for a scheme, and I think I want to use that on Well, I'll try it out on the first one, and if it looks bad, well, it.
I won't tell anyone. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. No, I will. I will be recording this for Patreon, I think. So
good plug. Good plug for the Patreon. Thank you very much.
I will be. Yeah. So the first one is going to be pinned up for Patreon because I actually had quite a few inquiries on Bastion. Not only for picking colors, but also process. So I think this could be a nice opportunity to do that. And yeah, I've done a lot of gold, and
that's allowed. Moving on.
Well, it is allowed, and I love it.
You're pretty good at it, I think.
And I will not stop. I love me some shiny gold. I do. But I mean, steel or silver is great too. So that's well, I think that's the direction I go.
So you're not going to paint it TMM?
I'm not. I actually tried out a bit of TMM yesterday. Yep.
Hard, isn't it?
Because I have that Fanatics box, and they have some metallic paints in there, and I don't remember why or how it started, but the Discord had a bit of talking about TMM, and I knew I had like 30 minutes or whatever as the baby went to sleep, so I just plopped some on a wet palette, and I had I think it's a Custodes or something. I just had it primed up because and painted. I use it to test out schemes and stuff. Just you can put some color on there, yeah, just so you faff about. And I mean, slap some steel on there and try to. Oh my god! And well, maybe if I put a lot of effort and time into it, it could be good, but it's not easy at all. It's I mean, you can get it to something passable for, I'd say, an army with not a ton of effort. Like you could spray it over or even brush paint it over, and then do your wash and dry brush colors on top to kind of clean it up, and it looks good on a battlefield, definitely. But if you want to take it further, like we have Night Encounter, for example, who takes it to display painting. It's so hard. It's so hard. And especially, I think one thing that is making it even harder is my style has kind of developed into the high contrast style because of the non-metallics, right? So if you wanted to do high contrast on cloth and leather and panels on whatever, and then you combine it with a TMM where you can't go as high contrast because it's TMM, right? So you can do tricks and put color and enforce dull shadows and all kinds of things on TMM. It's not like that, but you can't get the final highlights too white.
Yes,
and you don't really control in the same sense exactly how big you want because that's one of the things with the non-metallics where you can just put more brightness. You can make it look incredibly shiny and very, very bright by putting more color that goes towards white. You can't really do that with TMM the same way. So it will have I guess, a different midtone or ratio between
the ratios. I think is one of the keys. The thing that messed me up so much, I didn't appreciate it at all, is checking your blends in TMM. You have to have one angle is like, yep, that's blended, that's good. Yeah. Move it slightly, it's not blended at all. I'm an idiot.
No. Yes. I know it's the same.
So hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why a lot of people glaze down, is like they kind of, right, everything's bright and then glazing down, because at least then you only need to worry about going darker.
Yeah, I think so. Instead of mid-tone, I'll just say that it is not easy doing high-level TMM. Not that I
Right.
thought it was before. There was a real reason why I stayed away from it, and it's not even that I've seen fantastic pieces, and I will happily say it again, even on record here, that some of the most fantastic pieces I've seen has been larger scale, where they really went hard with TMM and putting in like basically doing a non-metallic approach to the TMM, right? And it looks absolutely fantastic.
And that's
Very,
the thing
very
that
hard.
I know I said on the intro to that TMM video we published on YouTube, is that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was only when I went to MPO and saw it in the flesh,
yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
this is incredible. This is so removed from what number one, what I had painted myself historically. It was a lot better than that. But number two, just the sheer quality of it, and actually looking at a piece saying, I have no idea how that was done. I know it's TMM. I have no idea how they got that.
No, yeah. It's a monster on its own. It really is. So yeah, I don't think I will be.
You're not entering the TMM challenge.
I'm not.
You got to enter one of these challenges, Magnus.
I mean, when it rolls around to the NMM one, I guess the NMM Gold one.
NMM Gold Stormcast Challenge. Like, yes, finally.
Yeah, the one trick pony. Yeah, rides right up and wants to race. So.
Well, that is a good plug. If you're listening in the year of or the month of our Lord, July, next month we are running a TMM challenge to get the Discord painting in TMMs, which promises to be quite fun. Certainly with the likes of Knight in Cantor, who, as you mentioned, does very, very good TMM, very high standard. To learn from him will be quite exciting, I think.
Yeah, and I think he's the only one actually in our Discord as it is now who does it regularly.
Yes.
So it's not that, well, others have tried and
just tried and realized how hard it is.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I will say another thing. It doesn't photograph that well, and because it doesn't photograph that well, means that if a lot of your work is really only shared on Discords or Instagrams or Facebook groups or whatever it is, you're kind of always a bit at a disadvantage. Whereas if you regularly take your stuff to competition, for example, I think it shows much better. And it's not saying that, because I'm mindful that exactly the same way that TMM doesn't show really what it looks like in real life on a photo, non-metallics don't either. Not at all. Nothing really does, actually. But it's just that whereas I find that non-metallics often actually show a bit better on photo as opposed to real life, TMM definitely the other way around. Definitely. Yeah.
Production. Diving into it. So I am very biased because I have a production background.
Yeah.
I know this stuff. I've done it professionally. I've done it in an event context professionally, and in a video production context professionally.
Yeah.
It's all new to you, and you were saying it's bloody hard.
It is so hard, man. I will start by saying I'm not very tech savvy at all, as in not at all. It's years and years ago I sold my computer because I got kind of addicted to playing games on it. Well, not kind of. I got very addicted.
Yep, it's fine.
Definitely got very addicted to playing games on it, which is not great. So I kind of made the choice of, well, I will sell it and not get a new one. And I didn't. But that also means that, well, back then, for example, a cord slot it into something and no other cord slotted into that. And it did whatever job that cord was supposed to. Now, not at all the same. It's I spend 5 hours and 3 trips back and forth trying to get a USB-C data cable for that microphone, and in the end, I didn't even succeed. So, well, audio will be better next time when it arrives from France.
That's fine. We just gotta wait. We wait for the French cable. That's all we gotta. So yeah, I mean, you've obviously adapted though on a lot of things in terms of painting on camera, audio, doing clap takes, and all the things that we need for edits.
Yes.
Would you say that you've grown a lot more comfortable with it, or is it still a little bit unsure to you?
Obviously, the things that, well, as soon as you've tried it and you kind of figure out, okay, how does this work? So I need to plug here and position here, and this is where I need to be in focus, and this is kind of the angles that I can paint from, and yeah, you get used to it. It's not like I will say it again. For me and everybody else who's painting on camera, well done, because it's not easy at all. Well, you have been painting a bit on camera too, so you know, right?
I've been painting on camera, but I have, but with, I would say, a more comfortable setup than you have. I am fortunate enough that the camera is a bit further away, and therefore I have more range of movement, whereas you have to record very close. Yeah,
because it's the phone. And it's, well, actually, I will say that iPhone 12 is it is putting in work, and
it's an absolute bloody workhorse. It's doing the Lord's work, that iPhone.
It really is. It's just that because of lenses and stuff like that, you can't go very far away with that phone. So I'm actually recording basically right before it starts getting blurry. So as close as it can be and still be focused, almost. And I paint underneath it.
It's really hard.
It is hard, and it's also why, I mean, I'm not saying that a setup where having a camera on an arm further away will instantly make my work look 10 times better on video. It won't. And that's just because you can't do your best work underneath a video setup, because you will always be mindful of angling things. And I mean, if it was streaming, maybe a bit better, because it's not that bad if you have a sequence where you're 1 minute out of frame or out of focus or whatever it is, because it's about something else. But recording for Patreon, for example, you can't really. I mean, you have to be in focus, and you have to be angled up towards the camera and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it would make things easier, but it's not that. I mean, this works fine, and I can paint and I can show the things. I'll just tidy some things up. Well, also I will say, maybe if you did pick some things where you didn't have to be ultra neat every time and have the line work be 0.5 millimeter and stuff like that, well, it would also help, definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely a case of, like, certainly in the YouTube videos that I've recorded, it's like, show most of the process, but then understand that you're then needing to say, and you can go away and hone this further. It's why I give myself 30 minutes on camera, because I know I can show the broad strokes of what I want to talk about in 30 minutes. And the assumption is that you can then take that away. And if you want to spend an extra hour getting silky smooth blends, you can do. That's fine. You don't have to, though.
Yeah. No. No, and it's just that my paint jobs can be, sometimes they are shorter, especially if I'm showing something like, okay, so I want to paint up a nice looking gem because it's something that is frequent and something you can use on all kinds of models. So just showing the general process is a nice thing, and it might not take that long. Maybe in total it would be 30 minutes or 45 minutes or something like that. But oftentimes the paint jobs I do can go to 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours. If you want to paint a nice looking section of something, and I try to segment it then, because so you basically show a step and you show enough so that you know how to do it on the rest of it, and then okay, next step, next color, or now we blend something or whatever it is. And I mean that works too, but it doesn't show them that this is actually a 5-hour paint job, right?
Yeah.
Where you have to be okay. So I'm trying to not make it paint the owl, but well, sometimes you kind of have to. Otherwise, you would have to have people suffer through 5 hours of putting on a base coat, then putting on the first layer, then putting on blending the first highlight, whatever.
I think there's just the case of like explaining what has happened in that intervening time. So like, if there's a cut, what have you done in this cut? And like I try and certainly in my videos, it's like, okay, I've cut here, and the reason for the cut is I was letting the paint dry. You're missing nothing. Sometimes it will be I made a cut, and what I was doing is I've just honed the blends a little bit, but I've already told you how to hone the blends. I'm just spending a bit more time doing it. Yeah, so you're not missing out on any great knowledge in the cut, so to speak.
No, it's basically me doing more of the same, and it's why. And I explain everything in depth, so it's not like we're not gatekeeping anything.
Yes, I'll tell you what you want to know. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so production woes aside, because I was reflecting this when I was like, we've had a lot of like deep topics, and a lot of technical discussions. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But this hobby for me is all about the joy, and that's my thing. And like I think it's perhaps like maybe we don't talk about it enough. And like as a hobby, this isn't like on us, but like when I'm thinking of, you just get that bit of the model that you've painted and it looks great, and you're like, hell yeah, or the model's done, or just you were trying a new technique and it pulled out. Like the first time I did some NMM, I was like, oh, that kind of looks like metal. That's a revolution in things like that. So it's so like critical, I think, to remember that we do this as a hobby. We're not here to punish ourselves. You're allowed to feel good about your hobby. And I was wondering, as part of that, if you've had any moments of hobby joy recently that you could share.
Yes, I definitely have. I turned one paint job that I kind of hated in the beginning, and just testing out new paints is difficult, and small figure and over detailed, and weather was a bit annoying, and everything was kind of annoying me with the paint job. And it ended up actually growing on me to the point where I'm really happy with how it came out. And I normally don't enjoy the last part of a paint job. I hate the first 10%. Then I absolutely love the next, let's say 30 or 40%. And then it kind of goes down from there. And it's just a matter of if I end up being really fed up with it, or but the tail end of paint jobs for me generally is not the enjoyable part, and it has been this time, which was very, very refreshing for me. So yeah, hobby joy. And I will say, because we are in a bit of a different situation, I guess. Some of the things for me, because this is also a hobby. Well, I guess it's also a job, but for me, it's still very much hobby. And I will say, the constant feedback of positives is incredible for me, and that's basically, well, what is the hobby for me has evolved into. It is how can we spread some knowledge and some joy and some help and some community and whatever it is, and it's overwhelming, and by now mostly the admin chat is screenshots of look, this person messaged me and they said thank you for what you're doing and keep up the good work. Much more than anything else. So yeah. For me, hobby has really turned into yes, a lot of it is still painting, but I'd say it's maybe only 50% now.
I'd say that's fair. I think I'm probably the same. The thing I didn't anticipate, and I've said to you, is that hobby was important. Sorry, community was important to me, but it was only once we created our own that we really, really wanted to, and understood the benefit and the beauty of a thriving community that supported each other and pushes each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just when you put a lot of time and effort into something, well, someone actually putting into words that they appreciated it.
Yes,
it's not that I know that people do appreciate it, and I like all the likes, and I enjoy all the reshares and stuff like that. It's not at all like that. But it's just that someone messages you out of context, or it's not a question. I really like the recipe of whatever, or I saw the video of you talking about whatever it is. But just a message that says, "Thank you for." The things you do, and I really appreciate finding a home, or I really enjoy listening to a podcast when I bike, or whatever it is. It's just that it means so much more. I enjoy posting nice pictures on Instagram. It's not like that. I do. I'm not kidding anyone, but the messages from community and from even quote unquote random people, they mean the world. They really do.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
They really do.
Mine was caused by Rut Brown from AK Interactive.
Yes.
Hell of a color, actually, this Red Brown. Actually, I realized it's quite similar to Mornfang when I was painting with it, but with some of that AK loveliness that I'm quite partial to. But I was painting this bust. So at the moment we have this. We're running a skin challenge, a human skin challenge in the Discord, and we've been painting this bust, and the skin mixers weren't working, the color mixers, and I was like, well, I know my lighting's right, but the shades here aren't working, and I think you reach that point where you're like, I can keep banging against this door, or I can think about a different way to approach it. And so I was just like, let's start messing with the tones and see what we end up with. And so I was like, right, I'm going to use red brown as a base. That's my darkest color. Let's go from there and see what we can mix up from. And like seeing that come together, and then I was like, oh, this is looking like the skin I want. Like, I had a problem. I didn't tell myself off. I got a little bit frustrated, but I didn't wallow in it. I picked a new approach, and then I start painting, and then it works, and you're like, this is what the joy is. This is what it should feel like.
Yeah, even just people sharing something, but being uncertain. And then we had just yesterday a copper recipe, and the person who was painting was a bit, maybe this is not really where I want to be and how I want it to look. A few pointers from the community, a bit of reference shared back and forth. Yesterday, a new picture, and it looked incredible.
Yes,
and
it really did.
It did. It really did. And the person was like, maybe next time I want to be more of A and less of B. But I really felt I got somewhere, and I learned a ton of things, and I'm pretty happy with this.
Yeah.
That is hobby joy, man. That it's smaller adjustments and figuring out things, and then getting to a point where, well, it actually worked. It's an incredible feeling. I had Josh a bit yesterday in DMs trying to figure out some non-metallics, and I mean, it started one place and ended up another, and it looked great. And it's getting through those things, those obstacles, basically.
Yeah.
Getting out on the other side, and then it's hard not to be happy about where it ended up, because you did actually go through something. It wasn't free or whatever. It's it's something coming together, right?
Yeah.
Is the thing for me. So we see it every day. We see it every day.
And that's the thing is I think that also builds joy builds upon joy and lets you do things that you wouldn't do ordinarily. Yeah. Because if you're constantly in a headspace of, I hope I don't fuck this up, you're gonna paint really conservatively, and you're not gonna do the things that you potentially could if you didn't have that fear. And so, like the bust I'm painting, there's that rim light, and I knew the rim light wasn't quite working for me, but like step one was having a really nice shadow space, and I was like, oh, this works, I like this, but I want to try a rim light because I've never tried a rim light before, and worst case scenario, I'll just paint over it. But if I was thinking conservatively, I'd be like, no, I have a nice thing, I might have a worse thing, and that would be bad. When in fact, no, you're going to find new joy if you just get yourself a little bit uncomfortable for a little bit of time. You're gonna pull something off. You're gonna improve. And that's, I think, maybe, and it's funny because in the TMM discussion, in the NMM deep dive discussion we had, it's on our Patreon. The question I asked you was, do you think people need to be more brave? And I think that's true in everything. You've got to be brave in this hobby if you want to improve. But if you do, you're going to find joy.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. And also, I will say, you don't appreciate a sunny day if it never rains. Yes. I mean, it's true here. It's true here too. Yes, sometimes you will struggle through some things, and that's why, basically we are here to help guide through things. And yes, sometimes it turns out to be something that, I think I'll just strip this. You learn something. But most of the times it doesn't. And you either adjust it until it works, or you paint it over to be something else, or whatever it is. And I mean, it's just so much sweeter when it has been a tiny bit bitter before.
Yes. And that's,
it really is.
There's in terms of how we think about knowledge as well, it is just as important to know what not to do than to know what to do.
Yes. Yes.
And like, you may have stripped, and I've done it, and everyone has stripped a model in this hobby. Like,
even I have.
Even Flawless Magnus has stripped a model. And I guarantee every time I've done that, I've taken away knowledge, even if that knowledge is just, don't do it this way. And then you know that for future. And if you get away from that fear, if you just get in a headspace of, at the end of the day, there is no marker that comes in and checks your painting and says, "Oh, this is bad. You must go to hell now." It's just like you're your own worst enemy. You're your harshest critic.
Yes.
You are all of those things. But if you can actually spin that around sometimes to be like, I painted that. I did that. My decisions, my hand, my paint, my brushwork, that did that. Isn't that pretty fucking cool? I think if we just gave ourselves a little bit of time to just reinforce that, we'd probably all improve and feel a lot better about what we do in the hobby.
Yes, 100%. I think it's... we had someone who was apprehensive of sharing their work in Discord, and there was no reason to not share it. It was purely anxiety speaking and saying, maybe I shouldn't because it's probably not good enough. And I mean, yes, not everyone can be a child prodigy and be Bruce Almighty, just having every paint job being even more fantastic than the one before. Nope, not everybody can. But I mean, that's not. I mean, if you stop comparing against everybody else and start comparing more to what you did the last time, I'm pretty sure your anxiety would be dialed down, and you can see, well, yeah, I did some things that looked great and I couldn't do this 2 months ago, or whatever the case is. So mostly it is because we or you or are so harsh critics on the work that we are doing, because I think, especially for display, it is inherent to kind of aim for perfection. And it's actually not really the way to improve, because it can keep you from, well, painting brave.
Yeah. There is... Just, I wish there was an easy, oh, just remember this, then you'll never have these feelings again. No, unfortunately you will. That's a part of it. But I kind of think that if you just remember that your eyes are locked on the flaws that only you can see, and that when you share it with someone, they're probably not going to see the thing that you've been staring at the past 10 hours, or, which is more often the case, the thing that you've been staring at for the last 10 hours is not actually that important in the grand scheme of what you've accomplished. It's just something you fixated on. Then you can be a bit more free. The balancing act we often have to make, I think, if you're one of those people that are trying to improve, is taking pride in what you've done, but never finding too much comfort because you want to keep pushing yourself.
Yes.
And that is an incredibly hard balancing act. I know, personally, for me, I am, and I think this is actually true of most people, is they are way too hard on themselves.
Yeah. I fall into it too.
There was constantly an idea of, you can, you must, you have to do better. Why are you doing this? Why haven't you done this? You fool. But and it's understanding that you can push yourself while still saying, hey, but this is better than the last model, or I'm trying something new, so it's not going to look right first time, but I'm going to nail it next time. Giving yourself an out is not weakness. It's just having a healthier perspective on the hobby.
I agree. And well, I talk to all kinds of people, from community and students and people on Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of people. And one thing that has been popping up a couple of times now, actually, is the idea of, is this something to fix on this paint job, or is this something to fix on the next one? Because there is definitely a distinction. Sometimes as you said, now you've learned not to do this. And unless you're starting over completely, it's kind of hard to not do something that you already did.
Yeah.
Because you already did it. Yes. And as we don't travel back in time, it oftentimes is not yet, at least. It oftentimes is something that maybe I bring this to the next one, and now I know, well, this is how we don't do or how we do, right? So it's just being mindful that being incredibly critical, well, it's fine in some regard, but it's also, yes, if you're doing a competition piece and you want it to be perfect and you will have the skill and the time, I'm all for it. But sometimes, it's diminishing returns, really. So in the end, it's sometimes better to just, I'm letting this go. I know it for the next one. I won't even be painting the back anyways.
Paying the back is for fools. We all know this. That's fine. So on that, kind of rounding off the off topics, it's kind of nice that we do this more frequently because we can have slightly more in-depth focused discussions as opposed to is absolutely everything that's happened in the hobby. What are you painting currently, Magnus?
I am at the tail end of Grum.
Nice.
I primed up the basing because I want to use the original base bits, and I'm waiting for plinths so I can put it on a nice looking plinth.
Very nice.
I had Yor say to me that if I wanted a chance to put it into Old World, I at least had to remove the whatever shield is on
There's a symbol on the shield or something. Or...
Yeah, it's that face, I think, on the shield. So I filed and scraped that down, and we'll be doing some wood grain texture on it instead, or whatever, when we get to that. So yeah, I'm at the tail end of. I say tail end, but the base is actually pretty elaborate. But
it's a big old base.
Yeah, it is. It's just that it's a lot of details on there. But I've painted almost all of the main model, and so that's. I think I maybe want to do a video on some of those details, but we'll see. And then I was supposed to start up with Dressar, and now it looks like, there's a Scythe Box on my...
The siren song of Scaventide is calling you.
Yeah, I'm also mindful that while there is a lot of time still to go, before Golden Demon...
there's not. There's 79 days. I'm looking at the countdown right now.
Yeah, the odds of me finishing up...
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I've during the months here with Patreon, it seems a model for me at a high standard borderline competition is about a month worth of work, which means it's going to be tight if I want to finish Bastion, and I want to do Dressar so it can go into a duel with James R. It will be pretty tight, and I'm mindful that maybe that's not. And also, to be frank, I want to paint a model and have fun on it. And every time I start a model, I'm saying it, and every time it ends up being, maybe I could put this into competition.
That's fine. And then as it gets close, you're like,
there is a local competition, just a small local game shop one. I think the week before Golden Demon, and I'll take a few models there. Not Golden Demon models, but ones that can't go into Golden Demon because they share a category or whatever. But I'd bring something like
Sorry, I was just imagining you like taking your Golden Demon entries to this local comp. Like, what up, kids? Welcome to the real world.
I mean, these local comps, it's
it's savage now. There's no easy comps anymore.
Oftentimes, I mean, not everybody is a top tier painter, of course, but there will be a handful of guys that are pretty good. So I'm not even saying, well, yeah, I'll just crush that one with anything. No. That's some 16-year-old will roll up with a perfectly painted Marshall. He will.
That's it. And then you'd be wondering, like, you bring Dante. Dante doesn't place. You're like, what am I doing in my life?
Yeah. It's just no, and I don't even dare bringing anything up to put into Golden Demon for two reasons. One, imagine they did bad, and and the next one, imagine someone broke it. So
that's the second one. I think is the more terrifying.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't be, but I'll bring something and just. And that's why I'm saying I want to paint something having a bit more fun. It's not that I don't enjoy painting all the other things, but oftentimes there is a point where this could go all the way, probably, maybe. So now I have to stress over everything. And I know I'll end up the same with the next one too, but at least I've told myself I won't in the beginning.
What
and you are painting.
Fuck.
Yes.
So last week was all about base prep. It was learning my lesson. Yep. It was base prep and model prep. It was learning my lesson and saying, I'm not slacking off on this. I have a plan. I'm going to execute the plan. And so I prepped the models, and you, David, and I helped with the basing for the squad. That was a massive help. That was so help. I was actually like, at the end of that, I was like, why the hell haven't I done anything like that sooner? Because it was so useful in terms of understanding composition. And so after that, I
will say something about it also. Just a quick note. Sometimes while doing those, for example, like a unit stand or something like that, it can be small tweaks that makes it look much better. And if you want to aim for getting something from a judge, well, it's what we aim for.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you want to do that, you need to be mindful of every detail, right? So having other people's eyes, it doesn't have to be mine or David's, or it can be two friends even that you just invite to, can you look over this? And if something sticks out, tell me.
And if you don't do that, you're kicking yourself after, because you'll be like, what's wrong with this? I don't know. And
I think
certainly as I'm learning for a squad, like obviously I have to now paint all those based on the lighting that's implicit in one figure.
Yeah.
And so once that's set, I can't move those pieces much at all, because then the lighting doesn't make sense. And so understanding that, like so the base is now built. So we were just looking at the resin base. The base is built, a concrete destroyed city. I'm getting some elevation in there for the captain, so that's good. And I also have the other dude who has a more simple, what I would call a Nurgle base, but hopefully still composited right for that model. And so all of that's prepped and ready to go. And I now just have 79 days to paint 5 models. That's easy.
I think I just said before, not even 5 minutes ago, that I don't think I can finish up Jane Sandra. And
you and I are very different. That's fine.
And I will say it's not that I don't paint a lot, because it's actually something that I put into words yesterday, I think, because someone was saying, wow, how do you paint this nicely? How do people get this much better at painting. Every time they post something, it just looks fantastic. Well, oftentimes it's because they paint a lot.
It's funny how that works.
I'm sorry to say, there aren't many tricks here. There are some, and you can't like you can kind of step over some of the obstacles, but mostly what will yield the results is having lots of hours with a paintbrush in your hand.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. I think I average about 5 hours a day, because that's about, some days are 3 and some days are 8, and but I've found that painting every day, or at least 6 times a week, makes it so that I progress, but I can't do that for 10 hours every day. I could when I painted mostly in the weekends. I would paint like I would prep a bit during the week, and I would then maybe paint 2 hours here or an hour there, and then I would have 2 days of just 10-hour painting sessions. But painting every day, basically without fault, I can't do 8 hours in a row every day, or 10 hours in a row every day.
Yeah.
It's impossible for me. I can't. It's too hard.
You get to a limit of your focus ability as well, and you'll
Yes.
be painting, but you won't be painting well. You'll just be painting.
No, and also I will say, sitting down a lot, and and I'm full goblin mode when I'm painting. It's
You're
not
full
very
goblin mode
funny.
all the time. Don't be silly.
Yeah, but just being completely hunched over and close to a model for hours and hours and hours every single day. It's actually, it does wear you down, and you kind of feel it. It's not to say that it's about to break me. It's just to say that I couldn't do it for 10 or 12 hours every day, even though I would probably love to be able to. I definitely cannot. And I think it's unfair to think that anybody could. Some people, sure, but
Magnus, you're not giving me a lot of confidence in paying this squad now.
yeah, I mean, we have established now that you are definitely a different breed. I mean, you would do it out of spite, I feel, almost.
Maybe.
When I'm saying you can't do it, you would say, "Watch me."
Yeah, maybe. I mean, whether the outcome's any good is unfortunately a different question. Well, the good news is, like, even with 79 days to paint 4 squad. No, it's only 4 models. It's 3 squad members and the Nurgle dude.
Yeah.
But then also
and
Hone.
Base and
Yeah. Okay. Good point. But then, but I'm being very intelligent because I've also given myself this week to finish the bust.
Yes. Yeah. I even called you out this week. God,
I can't not finish it.
No, I agree. No. And I actually think it's almost a perfect way of doing it, because we have, for example, Ollie, who is very, very smart at painting and very incredibly structured too. And he didn't in this project, and I was getting a bit worried that he would actually end up burning out on it, because he had to focus so much energy on the same project for him to finish it before Fen.
Yes.
But he is usually juggling 2 projects, because he kind of needs one, like they are not the same. And while both could potentially go into competition, one is definitely for it, and one is, well, it's kind of a joke or a wild card or whatever, where you can have some fun and try some things and whatever. And I think that bust is very, very nice for you as a kind of a break from doing Rodbringer and Terminator to a very high standard, where you have to be very deliberate and put a lot of thought into your single brush stroke every night. that you.
One considered for a stroke. Just
Yes, exactly. Where you can be a bit more fast and loose with it. And while you want it to look good, the stakes are inherently lower, right?
Yeah, because I can't win it. I'm judging skin comp. I can't do anything.
That's gonna be terrible, huh?
So the entry quality is absolutely ridiculous.
It is. I am so happy you get to feel it with me this time.
I've not been looking at that chat because I just can't do that. I mean, all the more power to James and Onion Knight, these very good judges who kind of divorce themselves from the process. I'm in that chat because I'm part of it. I'm like, I'm terrified. These are I can't even pick between them.
No, it is fierce, and it's people are good, really good.
Turns out people are good at painting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean maybe that's my lesson for this week is don't judge competitions.
It'll be fun.
My fuck up corner is definitely which is the one I've addressed, is basing and model same time. Stop, leave, like have a plan. If you're doing the Warhammer 32 mil or whatever it is, have that plan for the base. You don't have to build the base, but have a plan.
Yeah.
And learn from that. So you
and
not.
Actually, I feel like it goes
talking over each other now. It's fine.
No, go. I feel like it goes for not only the base actually, because I've had lots of talk this week about color too.
Yeah.
So there's a real element of color composition where you risk falling into something that looks off because you just tried it out as you went. So you don't have to pick out every color, but I think you need to have an idea of the elements, what colors you want them to have, and why.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I agree.
I just know that I'm almost treating this as a marathon, and because it is, unfortunately, and time wasted making decisions is time I could have front loaded, and I don't want to be arm deep in a model and going, oh, is this the right? What do I do with this? Like I can't afford those decisions. I need to devote my brain to just getting the paint on the model.
Yeah, and it's why I think Ollie is such a brilliant competition painter.
He's a monster. He's a terrifying monster of a man, is what he is.
Yeah, not only is he great at painting, but I think he's basically his strongest suit, I think, is planning it out, building a base, or at least most of it, having the idea put down, picked out what colors he wants to play with, and he will be tweaking as he goes. But lots of it is already planned, and I really commend him for being able to. It's way too shiny to to be able to truly go into that headspace. But damn, that is a skill to try and develop if you can. Yeah.
Project discipline is so underrated, and I think people have a false impression of oh, Ollie has a lot of entries. He must not spend much time on each one. Is no. He spent probably more than you have on yours. He's just structured his life such that he has very good project discipline and will maximize the use of his hours. And to be honest, as a
half an hour a day.
Yes, as a fellow competitor who has to go up against Ollie, I'm like, that's terrifying. That's the mentality that scares the ever-living crap out of me. So you can't go into these things half-hearted. I don't think. You just have to put all the best feet forward.
Yeah, but I enjoy that seeing that too. And it's not that I'm very mindful that not everybody can have their 40 hours a week in deep in hobby time. No one really can, actually. I've talked a bit about it during this week, actually, And the idea that imagine you were biking as your hobby, or playing soccer, or whatever it is. No one really has 40 hours a week to put into hobby. 40 hours biking. I mean,
a lot of biking.
Probably not.
So that's a lot. You have sore legs.
Yeah. So having hobby time as being actual hobby time in a scale that is more normal, well, yeah, it feels like you're not ever painting. And those people that just sit down and paint for, as I said, 8 hours on a Sunday or whatever, and you wish you could, but you can't because you have other responsibilities. Well, because this is hobby, right? And it's not that you can display paint and competition paint as a hobby, as long as you're mindful that, yeah, it is hobby and it is hobby time. And some weeks I get 2 hours, maybe some weeks I get 5 hours, but there won't be any weeks where I get 40 hours. Well, that's fine too. Some people can, and some people have it as such a big part of their life that they structure around it. Most people don't. Well, we are there is no like weight limit. There is no, well, so you have access to lots more time, so you go into this category. Well, there is a beginner standard and a master's in a lot of them, but that's about it. Otherwise, you're weighed up against, well, everybody else. So just be mindful that when your work doesn't look exactly the same, or you don't think you improve as fast, or whatever it is, sometimes the sole reason is that there are people out there, like, for example, me, who spend all their time painting and quote unquote hobbying.
So what, with all that time, what have you learned this last 2 weeks, Magnus?
Yeah, I think that's some of the things I've learned is the composition and how valuable it is to talk these things through, and how much impact even a small thing can make in a grand scheme is becoming really eye-opening to me. Yeah. Because I have lots of interaction with people who seek advice and or betterment. That means I see so much work and I look at it critically, and I oftentimes look for what change do I think you get basically the maximum value from. And then it might be 2 or 3 of those, and then you walk down the ladder. Now you're putting much effort into something that doesn't yield as much result, but you kind of try and start at the top of, okay, ratio between effort and result. And yes, I will say seeing quote unquote minor changes yield huge results is eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
And it's something I can take for myself. So every time we have these sessions of feedback or tuition or whatever, I get a bit for myself too, because we've put into words and we've talked about a piece and the ping pong back and forth, and I've learned a bit too.
Yeah. Always learning. I think that's the key thing.
Yes,
school day.
Always.
Cool. Well,
the other thing is, the other learning is, it seems willpower is not the best. It's easy to cave in when a shiny box is released, and
I mean, of all the people who I thought would cave to a shiny box, you were probably high up on the list, so that's fine. You're allowed. You're allowed. It's okay. Don't worry. Right. Well, that brings us to time, Magnus. We've run slightly over, but that's a-okay. Thank you, all of you, to have listened to us, that have had you has us nattering away in your ears. Obviously, if you've not already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube, or if you are so inclined and taking part in the wonderful community and the things that we do, might I suggest our Patreon, which you can find at GitGud Painting on Patreon, and we have GG Painting on YouTube, or vice versa. It's all on the website. Go to the website, getgoodpainting.com. It's bloody brilliant. It took a lot of time to paint, so getting more traffic would make me happy there. But for now, it is very goodbye from me. Magnus, if you want to give your goodbyes and farewell.
Bye-bye.
Simple. Done. Right. You're painting, get good, and get out of here. So long.